Hello and welcome to the very first episode of our Let's Keep the Conversation Going series. I'm joined today by Nicola Firth, who is the founder and CEO of Knowledge Bank, and today we're going to be discussing why mental health and wellbeing is especially important to Nicola, and also why she chose to become a co-founder of our mortgage industry mental health charter. So Nicola, hi, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Jason. How are you?
Yeah, great. Look, and when I look at the audience who are undoubtedly going to be listening to this, unless they've been in a cave for the last 5 years or so, I'm sure they're going to know all about Knowledge Bank. But for those who maybe don't know, could you just explain your role and then a little bit about Knowledge Bank?
Yeah, definitely. Just a sort of a brief introduction. My background in the industry was as a broker, so I really understand that that role and what's required in that role, and because of that, then created Knowledge Bank based purely on the frustration of not being able to find lenders' criteria, not being able to find the right criteria, trying to place cases. So Knowledge Bank is the UK's largest criteria search system, with residential, buy-to-let, second charges, equity, self-build, bridging and commercial criteria from every lender you can think of. We have over 260 lenders on there, 140,000 pieces of criteria just over, and lenders log in, keep it up to date themselves, and brokers use it to put in the criteria they're looking for the cases they're trying to place, and it will tell them exactly where to put that case. So that is Knowledge Bank for anybody who has been hiding away for the last 5 years.
Hey, look, it's an amazing business, and again, it serves and supports the marketplace so well. So look, I'm really pleased to not only have you here today, but also to have you as one of the co-founders. So I know when 18 months or so ago, when I was looking into the marketplace and looking for some support, I didn't need to ask you twice. You were so keen to get involved, and probably just interested in, again, just exploring that. So mental health and wellbeing, we're probably in a sector where it's not been on the radar compared to maybe other industries and sectors that we see outside of our own. But why were you so keen to get involved and support?
Well, as you said, Jason, it was just such an easy yes. You didn't need to ask me twice. You didn't need to say anything else. It's like, absolutely, 100%, definitely. I think mental health is I love the fact that now people feel that they can talk about it. That's the first thing, and actually not just talk about it, but there's practical support and help out there. And I think you're right. I think it was probably just missing a little bit from our industry, not necessarily in terms of the want to do something, but the practical application of that. So people and companies, okay, we know we'd like to support our staff, our teams, but what do we do about it? And I thought, what, if we could be a force for change and good in that respect, then I don't need asking twice. Let's do this.
Yeah, and look, that practical application is something. When we look at the MIMHC website we've created together, we do have some brilliant resource and simple tools that probably just outline what good process and good practice look like, and it's totally free, which is great for any business wanting to embrace and have mental health on the radar. But what kind of things maybe did you have for your staff, and have you got for your staff now, in terms of I suppose demonstrating that mental health and wellbeing is important for you, and it's not just words?
Do you know what? I think there are two things there, Jason, if I'm perfectly honest. I think in any company, I think there are two things. One are that, there's the practical stuff that you put in place. So, for example, we one of the things that we are about to do is put in the mental health first aid training. It's something we would have loved to have done last year, but to be realistic, and I'm a business owner, I completely understand the challenges. When you're looking at a business, you're in a tough market. Let's not even talk about last year and what happened at the second half of last year, but you don't come up for air, and these things can sometimes accidentally take a back seat. That's something that's back on the agenda this year, to put that in place. But then you've got the other things as well. So you've got the framework. Certainly the framework that the mortgage industry mental health charter provides is absolutely excellent, and there are things that you can just pick from there, put in place, absolutely brilliant. And of course, that's exactly what we've done, lead by example. But I think you've got the other side of it as well, and I think the other side of it is where having that awareness And it's sometimes the things that you do that are not necessarily, not necessarily planned, not scheduled in, there's no formality around it, just making sure that your team are all right, making sure, checking in with people on a regular basis, having personal conversations, just dropping them a quick message and just how it's going, picking up on signs. If something's not right, can you just pick up on a little bit of an undercurrent there? Are they not feeling too good? Are they a little bit maybe short? Is something happening? Do you need to, picking up on things that other people say to you as well? I think so-and-so struggling today or whatever. And so I definitely think there are two things. You don't always need to put the really hard things in place, immediately. Having that awareness is the best start. It's the absolute best start.
Yeah, and from your experience, I mean, how would you describe and explain poor mental health? Because again, it's not easy to always spot, is it?
No, it's not, and I think because it's such a vast subject. We talked about mental health, it's just such a big subject. So what one person finds easy to cope and deal with, another doesn't, and that's down to personality, life experience, upbringing, 1,000 different things that I don't understand because I'm not an expert in that field. But there are so many things. And then of course you've got the big, easily identifiable things where people have had life events that have made a real difference. It could be health, it can be any one of those things, and just I think just picking up when something's not right, just picking up when something's just not right and starting that conversation early. That's the key. That's the absolute key to it,
And why do you think our sector is maybe lag behind other sectors? I mean, you mentioned, look, it's not down to a lack of intention and desire. You mentioned priorities, and look, running a business, there's so many challenges on a day-to-day basis. But our marketplace, it's a very emotive process, isn't it, going through the mortgage journey. So why do you think as a sector we just maybe lag behind other areas?
It's a difficult one. You know what? Our sector is, when you look at our sector, the amount of pressure that people are under in it.
Yeah.
They all, just going back to what they say, moving house is one of the most stressful things you can do in life. Oh, well, okay. So then you've got brokers that are dealing with, 10, 20 cases at any one time with all that pressure, and that pressure funnels down, the lenders feel it, conveyancers feel it. It's a really high pressured environment, but I don't think it gets the recognition for being that. I think if you work on a trading floor in the city, it's like, oh, you must be in a lot of pressure. You're an air traffic controller. Oh, that's a very stressful job. Mortgage advisor, working for a lender doesn't come across as that. I think add to that, you get a lot of people that just really genuinely care. They're passionate about what they do. They're passionate about the industry, and put those two things together. And that's where you've got this big melting pot where, this is where it can sort of bubble over and people can experience problems. I think as well, in terms of, the other reason why it takes so long to sort of get it out there, if I'm being honest as well, I think, you've got to look at each, and every company is different, but there will be some companies that have not wanted to highlight bad practice. To be, I'm being perfectly blunt, when I say that, those higher up won't have wanted to highlight maybe things before they've had a chance to sort them and recognize them, and that's if they are going to address them. So I think there's maybe a little bit of that as well. But I think those down, I say that, and I'm looking back retrospectively, I think those days and those management styles are gone, and we are now into, we are now in 2023 and on from here. So, but I think there's been an element of that, I do.
So yeah, I mean, look, that prejudice probably twofold. I think we maybe had individuals who were reluctant to actually share what they were thinking, but part of that was driven undoubtedly by bosses who were just so unwilling to listen. And it seems far more accepted now to actually have a conversation. And employers, look, I think when we did our survey 18 months ago, I think we saw, what was it? It was 74% of the firms had no mental health and wellbeing support, and we've seen that reduce when we revisited 12 months ago. I'll be interested to see what it is this year. But that prejudice and that volunteering of the fact that there is something wrong does seem to be, it does seem to be getting better.
Yeah, Yeah, definitely. I would agree with that. And I think that's, largely as well down to keeping that conversation going, which is exactly what you're doing. And a fantastic work that you guys are doing, Crystal, keeping that conversation going, because if it's not going away, you've got to have it, haven't you? You know?
And what about this working from home? I mean, obviously, you're in your city blue room there, and I'm in my dining room here. So what about this impact of working from home? I mean, how much of an impact do you think that's had?
I think it's been good and bad for people. I think it's certainly I think now we're the other side of the lockdowns. I think it's it got significantly better. I think that did really affect people when they couldn't get out and see other people. I think I would like to hope now that we've found a balance. I know a lot of places have kept hybrid working in. I know we have. We've got this lovely mix between people having the freedom to work from home and the ability to go into the office as well. And I just think that is perfect, because of course, you even the stress of driving into the office and being late and being in traffic and all of that, you remove that out of the day. That possibly having eating with the family on an evening where they perhaps doing all of these things have to have a positive impact. But now people aren't shut away at home. They're able to go into offices and collaborate with people in person. That makes a big difference as well. And that vibe in an office, and it's so important as well. Get the culture of a business right. That comes from an office environment. It doesn't come necessarily from people working from home. So there's a really fine balance, but I definitely think things have got better. And I think largely, we've got it right. I think we're certainly a good proportion of the way there.
Yeah, and do you think you'll sustain that? So that kind of hybrid and choice, because as you say, that that collaboration of a group is really important, but also that work-life integration is crucial as well. Do you think you'll sustain and continue with like a hybrid and choice?
Oh, definitely. For us, definitely that does work. It really does. And it also gives us the ability to employ people from around the country as well. So our team are very, very much sort of around the country, which is brilliant. We come together for team meetings, which atmosphere that you get on those days when you've got the team meetings, everybody together, and then that carries over then, and because everybody's quick to be able to jump on Zooms and Teams and all of that and have quick meetings. I think if you do it right, you can have the best of both worlds, but I do think you need both elements in there for it to work, because otherwise you drift into there are good bits and bad bits of each, and I think unless you have both in place, you can drift into those bad bits quite quickly.
Yeah, and what about, we've touched on earlier about how I suppose challenging it can be to actually spot people who've maybe got some challenges and are maybe disguising it. How, from your experience, how do you go about trying to spot those early signs and spot those people who are maybe struggling a little?
I think, as we just said, to coin your phrase, keeping the conversation going. I think that is key. While you're talking to people, they're either going to talk back to you and open up, or they're going to be quiet. And if they're not normally, either way, you're going to know that person and you're going to spot them. And I think it's just important that it depends on the size of the business. Of course, it depends. For us, we've got a team that are really very much in contact with one another. I'm in contact with everyone on the team. So it's relatively easy for me to spot when things, maybe not okay with somebody. But for a bigger team, it's just putting those things in place and making sure that there are, management supervisors, that constant contact, and asking the question, how are you doing? How are you? How's work? Not where are we with that deadline? Not, what's happening with this? Where are we with that? How are you? How are you doing? It's such a simple thing to ask somebody, but you will gauge so much from a response, even a typically British response, which is fine, thanks. Even that, you will pick up in people's body language, the tone of their voice. You just ask the question. Just ask the question. How are you doing?
And what about yourself? So we're talking about how you look to try and support the team around you. What about you? I mean, obviously you're running a business that's been growing year on year, and the products, they're not reducing the amount of products that are out there. So your daily workload, I would imagine, just increases week on week. So what about you? How do you cope with the daily pressures and the challenges that come with running a business, being part of a family, and trying to combine and juggle the plates?
It's a challenge, and I think anybody who says it's not is not quite telling the truth there, if I'm honest, Jason. It is a massive challenge. I mean, certainly to set up, run and scale a business like we have in the last 5 years, you have good days and bad days, and you know, from the outside, you know, it can look as though it's like, oh, it's all fantastic, and underneath you're paddling like anything, because you know you've got this to do, that to do, that deadline to hit, that's where you want to be, and looking at what's going on in the market. There are so many factors at play, but the fact is you have to accept that is how it is, and to some element you have to be a person that thrives on that a little bit. You do, if I'm being honest. However, it still can take its toll. There's no two ways about it. So for me, I look at things very I try and put things in boxes, because you know you have to learn to what can I control, what can't I control, and you know, and make sure that you do put individual things that you're thinking about in boxes and think, right, okay, well, I can't do anything about that, so but this is what I'll do if it goes that way, this is what I'll do if it goes that way. So thinking ahead, you know, it's like a big game of chess. Think ahead is the first thing. I think other things sometimes, you know, just little things that you can do on a daily basis, and the way that you think about things that makes all the difference. So for example, you know, again, working from home is a great thing. So I'll go out at lunchtime and go and walk the dogs. And that is fantastic for clearing the mind. It's one of the best things ever, just to get out there and just walk through the fields with the dogs. And then you come back and you've got, you know, a different sort of mindset about it. And also as well, it helps you put things in perspective. I think that's a massive thing. Put things in perspective, you know, in the grand scheme of things, what really matters. And I think, you know, if you can do that, that really does help. And I also think I'm also a big believer in drawing a line under the day. Don't carry things over. Don't let them stop you sleeping. Don't bring it over into the next day. Whatever's gone on, sometimes, even if it means finishing early that day, because you're just like, do you know what? I am done with today. That's fine, because there's always tomorrow. So draw, if the day is so bad that it's making you feel worse to be sat at your desk, draw a line under today. Do something nice, you know, go and have something nice to eat, watch something on TV that you're going to enjoy. Shift your mindset. Just shift your mindset, because it's so easy to do that, but you have to proactively do it. Nobody's going to do that for you. Shifting your mindset is something that you can do for yourself. But the difference that will make, you go and get a good night's sleep. And you know that saying, tomorrow day, I am such a believer in that. I'm such a believer in tomorrow's another day, because guess what? It always is. It always is. And there's always something tomorrow to look forward to be excited about. And you see things with a fresh pair of eyes. So that's how I manage that, you know, and it's not that it doesn't affect me. I just maybe manage it differently to not let it affect me, you know.
Amazing. I mean, well, you're a very optimistic person and a very driven person, which is, you know, you deserve all the success that you've already had, but I know it's coming up the track for you as well. And what about other business leaders then who are maybe considering getting involved and unsure how to, you know, deliver a framework of mental health and well-being? What hints and tips would you give to others who are maybe sat on the fence at the moment and maybe unsure of what the next step should be?
I think the first thing I would say, and as a you know, founder signature, I will absolutely say, go to the mortgage industry mental health website, because there is some fantastic resource on there. I think the one thing from the conversations I've had, people thinking, I've not got time, I can't afford it. Well, let me just assure you, there's no money involved. So there's one tick to any business leader. That's music to their ears, is that there's no money involved. So don't worry, put your wallet away, it's fine. And I think the second thing is, when we're talking about time, if you've got time to think it, you've got time to do it, and genuinely, because the you know, mental health is something that, as I said, just asking that question, just that awareness, just having that awareness is the first step. You know, you don't have to put things in place straight away. You can build up to those. As I said earlier, one of the things I wanted to get in place last year was, because we obviously had first aid training in the office, you know, physical first aid training, but mental health first aid training, that was something that I wanted to put in place last year, and we just weren't able to do it. And I could beat myself up about that and go, oh, you know, we should have had that in place. Absolutely. But you know what? Other things had to happen in order for us as a business to survive, to us to be able to provide that support to the industry. You've got to just put things, you know, in some kind of logical order. So those things will come, and we're going to be doing that this year. But I would say just start, even if it's just baby steps into it. And actually, I think that the other bit of advice I would give is, mention to your staff that you're going to do this and watch their reactions. Because if honestly, that will spur you on. That will give you that incentive that you need. And also, even just having that conversation without even putting a place, before you even put the framework in place that you want to and that you're going to, just seeing their reactions will remind you of why you're doing it, and your team will be so, it's not, I don't use the word grateful, it's not grateful, but the fact that you've thought about it, the fact that you've even thought about it just carries so much, it means so much to people that you actually care about them. And you know what, as a leader in business, you absolutely should care about your team. They are everything. Your team are everything. So why would you not? So all the things that you might be looking at doing, this has got to be number one on there. Just take a look at the resource, have the conversation with your team. If you do nothing else to begin with, even for a couple of months, you'll still see the effects of that, I guarantee you.
That's great. And you mentioned, when we were talking about hints and tips, it was very much about stuff that you would do yourself. I just wonder, who do you lean on? What's your support circle like? Have you got a close inner circle? Is it fairly extensive? But it can't just be all about you, can it? So I'm just wondering, who do you lean on?
It's absolutely true. I mean, the people I work with are great. There's always somebody that's just willing to have a chat, have a laugh, or, so our team are fantastic. But I suppose that's sort of my immediate support network. The other directors of Knowledge Bank, Ying and Penny and Craig are just amazing. So any chats I want to have, and I've got an absolute open forum to do that. There's no conversation. This is the lovely thing when you have that kind of relationship. There's no conversation that I don't feel I could have with any one of them at all and not get a positive response back or help back or constructive, whatever it may be, and that's just so nice to be able to. I'm very, very lucky that I work with the people that I do on a daily basis, and I have great support at home as well. And my husband Robbie's absolutely fantastic. I mean, he's been so supportive from day one, which, let's be honest, when you've got a wife like me with ideas and you're just going to go straight. You're either coming along for the ride or you're hanging onto the back of the wagon, aren't you? But he's amazing, and having that support, that makes a big difference as well. Having the support from family as well as professional, and that's what I am very lucky. I know everybody's not that lucky, and that, I think that's perhaps what helps me to be as positive as I am. But then hopefully you pay that back because you can pass that on to other people, not just in your team as well. It really isn't just people in your team, but other people in the industry, conversations that you have, whether it be online, in person, you can hopefully pay that back a little bit.
Amazing. Listen, I'm going to summarise a few things. And if I miss anything, you can add them in at the end. But there was just absolute, few bits of magic dust in there, I think. So I think, from what you're saying, certainly the topic this series about just encouraging conversation, it's absolutely, it resonates all the way through yourself and your team. And on a daily basis, just finding that time to have a bit of reflective time and take yourself out of the hamster wheel, or just that working environment, whether it's walking the dogs or just doing something to just give yourself some downtime, and then just allow you to get some perspective on things. Because again, we've not touched on social media, but we look at social media and how unrealistic that is. That perspective versus reality is really important. I also love the thing, which was something that my dad told me when I met my wife, was don't dwell on things, so don't go to bed on an argument. But I love the fact that you'll draw a line under the day and just move on to the next. And look, I'm gonna nick that phrase. If you have time to think it, you've got time to do it. I'm gonna nick that one, if you don't mind. I love that. So I'll use that. But look, I'm dead, as I said at the beginning, dead proud to have you on board and part of this journey. We're touching probably 10,000 individuals now who, from the 60 firms that are actually co-founders or signatories. So what started out as a concept, we're starting to make a real difference. But let me tell you, we've not even got to first base yet. There's still so much for us to achieve. But look, I'm just dead grateful to for you to share some hints, tips on your own coping mechanisms today, and just really proud to have you along for the journey. But was there anything else? And was there anything else that I'd maybe not asked, or anything else that you wanted to just touch on in terms of the charter itself, or maybe stuff you've got coming up the track, or just anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've covered quite a lot there, and then just to add my thanks as well for the invitation onto the charter, because I'm just passionate about what we're doing, and as you say, we are literally at the beginning, aren't we? Even given what we've achieved, and we still know there's so much more that we can do. And I think having that conversation for people to understand that it's not a massive framework that you've got to go through, there's not a big cost involved, and at the end of the day, everybody, yourself, Jason, and everybody that's involved with the charter is giving up their time and effort to do these things just because they believe in what they're doing. So I would just encourage anybody just to please just take a look at it, and just familiarize yourself with what's on there. You might just pick a few things up yourself and think, actually, that's really good, I never thought about that, or that is something that I can just put into my business without even batting an eyelid. It's something you can just slip right in, and or something you might not have thought about. But I would also say as well that and I'm going to say this for myself, but I am going to speak for all of the other signatories here as well, because I think that I can, and that is that if anybody wants to reach out and have a conversation with any of us, either about the charter, about anything on there, or talk to us personally about anything, then I 100% guarantee you, if you reach out to anybody on the charter, anybody will have that conversation, and no matter what it is. Literally my virtual door is always open to anybody who wants to chat on anything.
Brilliant. Look, I mean, that's a brilliant way to end it. And as I said, really grateful for you joining today, grateful for all the support that I've had so far, and I know will come in the future. Really appreciate having you around, and good luck with everything, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Jason.
All right, thanks.